emerging name in pop culture. Hall of Famers like Steve Young, Reggie White, and Jim Kelly all got their start in the USFL. Order your Silver Anniversary magazine at usflonline.com.
21 gigawatts! WICR.
You're listening to WICR, Iona College Radio.
In the last 2 hours, I've lost my job, my apartment, my car, and my girlfriend.
Welcome to Tea Time with Abby and Kate.
Hello.
Abby, you want to just talk for a little bit while I get the phone situated?
Yes. Good morning or afternoon, everyone. Today on our show, we are going to have a very special guest, one of Kate's good friends. She's an author and a lot of other things. Kate wrote the foreword for her book. Okay. We are really happy to have her on the show. So, Kate, do you want to give a more full introduction?
Yes. So, Dr. Bridget Cooper, can you hear me?
I can. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Excellent.
Hello.
Hi.
So, Bridget, you are a therapist and you're also a communication fixer for big time corporations as well, right?
Basically, what I do is I help people become better leaders by helping them become better people first.
Ah, well, that's perfect. So that answers my first question. Can you explain to the listeners a little bit about yourself and a little bit what you do for a living? I know today you had your fourth book come out on Amazon.
I did, yeah, Power Play. So my first one was Feed the Need, and then my second one, as you know, was Feed the Need Teen Edition. And the third one was Stuck You, which is a book on change. And then this fourth one is on stress, drama, and isolation at work and how you can overcome those challenges. So, yeah, I have what I usually do is work with companies and individuals within companies to help them face their communication and conflict challenges, their resistance to change, and obviously now with the latest book, how they deal with stress, drama, and isolation at work so that companies can run more smoothly and people can actually enjoy what it is that they do when they go to work, because we spend most of our waking adult hours at work, and I want people to be happier with that. So that's what I do. And as you know, on the Teen Edition, my first book was on conflict and communication, and I adapted it for teens. That is just on how to understand what motivates people to behave badly so that you can help them to behave better. And by them, I mean you and everyone. So that's how that works.
I know that very well because I use the book all the time, and I use the strategies in the book. With each section, you have little helps and tricks to go about your daily life. So I use that all the time.
I love that. I'm so glad I met you.
Me too. So how did you know you wanted to do what you're doing with your life?
What's so funny about that is that when I was in 8th grade, I went to a summer camp where we had to write an autobiography. Because, when you're in 8th grade, you totally have so much information to talk about your autobiography, the story of your life. So I put together these cute short stories of things that had happened to me to that point. And then in the back, you had to write, what did you want to be when you grew up? And I wrote in there, and it's funny to me, at 13, I wrote, I want to be a stay-at-home mom and a part-time psychologist. And I ended up there. I didn't start there in college. I started in human resources, and I did human resources. And then I went back and got my master's in counseling. And then I went back and got my doctorate in leadership. So all of those things came together for me to be helping people in the way that I understood a psychologist would help people, but I helped them in personal and professional matters in a way that I didn't know what that career looked like, but I figured it out kind of along the way. So that's always been my experience, that you may start out with a plan. The plan may have a different plan for you, and you'll end up exactly where you were meant to be once you get there.
Well, I know you told me a little bit, I think, about that story in October of 2014 when I first met you. Yeah. So has helping others with their struggles and problems changed the way you look at the world today?
Oh my gosh, yes. I am so moved when I am able to help someone make a shift in their lives. My goal, and you and I have talked about this before, is that my goal is to change the world one life at a time. And hey, if I can do it in an audience of 300 at a time, I'll do it that way too. But when I make a difference in somebody's life and I see a light go on, I see a shift happen, I recognize that now they have a different way of looking at themselves. I see them coming into their own personal power. It moves me honestly to tears. Like I'm emotionally moved by that because I recognize that there is so much suffering in our personal and professional lives. And if I can help ease that, then it motivates me to do more. So like I never intended to write books. I think we had this conversation too.
Yeah, I think so.
That was not being a book author. Like I want to write my story because that's going to be juicy. But I never intended to write these like self and organizational help books. I wrote the first one so it would be a good calling card for me to be able to do the speaking that I do. And then people started responding to it. And then I met you and wrote the second one. And then I was like, oh, people like this stuff and there's stuff I can contribute. Okay, let me do this third one. And then I did the third one. They're like, when's your next one coming out? I'm like, I don't know. I guess I'm going to have to write a fourth one. So I wrote a fourth one and now I've got a fifth one in the hopper. So
wow.
That has, and six. I'm not going to stop, apparently.
Oh, my goodness. Wow, that is, wow. Yeah, that's impressive.
Yeah, it's fun. 1 a year has been my number, but I think in 2016
wow.
it's going to be probably 2 or 3 this year.
Oh, my goodness.
So, I know.
That's so
anyway.
impressive.
Oh, well, since we're on the topic of books, so can you describe one of like a process of like writing one of your books?
So yeah, the first one was very different, I think, than the rest because the first one I thought I need something other than like just a brochure to hand to people. So I need to write some stuff down. So I just started brainstorming all the little nuggets of information that I'd ever talked to anybody about, these little like kitschy little phrases and models and things. And then I put it together and my best friend read it and she said, this is a pile of doggy doo. Like this is the worst anything I've ever read in my life. It's so unconstructed. So I agreed with her. So I went back and I was like, what is actually in here? And I said, oh, there's a structure in this. Like I can now see I've been working in a model that I didn't even recognize I had. And once I saw the model that I actually had that kind of it wound everything and kind of threaded everything together, then I was able to go back and say, okay, so this is the structure. Now within that structure, now I need to add some things. I need to change some things. I need to move some things. Since that time, I've come at it a little bit ahead, meaning I have the structure ahead of time, and then I fill the pillars. So I kind of, like how you've learned in school to write those outlines, those beautiful outlines of uppercase I and lowercase and numbers and all that. That's how I do it. And then within each one of those, I create like a Word document and I go in and I attack that one. And then I attack the other one and then I attack the other one. And then I start putting them together and figure out how I do a transition and how I kind of build the flow of it.
Well, that's cool. I didn't know that about writing a book. But what has been like your favorite book you've ever written?
So I've loved them all for all of their reasons. I have to get personal here, Kate, with you and tell you that. So for those of you who don't know this story, can I tell the story?
You can tell the story.
Okay. So I was doing a workshop on communication and conflict, and Kate was in the audience, and she came up to me at the end of it. It was on Feed the Need, which is about conflict and communication and understanding that people act badly when they don't have their needs met, and how you can live a life with less conflict and less attachment to conflict. And so Kate came to me at the end of the workshop, and she said that listening to this had changed her life. And I was like, oh, my God, tell me how that happened. And she said because she had a really difficult person in her world who was really awful to her. And she now had the tools and techniques to be able to go back and be able to face that person in a completely different way with her mental health and emotional health intact. And I said, wow, that's awesome. And she said, so do you have this in teen edition? I'm like, you are so brilliant. No, I do not have this in teen edition. So I raced home that night. I already had Stuck You, my third book, in development. I shelved it, and I'm like, I need to attack this. So I went back and I recrafted some of the stories, and I changed some of the language of it and the quotes that I used. I threw in a couple swears for some cred, so I understand. And then I called on you to write the foreword. and you were excited. So you wrote the foreword, and then we were able to put that out, and I think you put that even in your college applications, right?
I did put that on my college applications.
So exciting. So that was my favorite because it was so personal. Like I talked to you about how making a difference in somebody's life was huge for me. I got to see that up close and personal of what one question and one statement in those moments that we shared at the end of that talk meant for your life, my life, and the life of everybody that book has and will touch. Like that was so poignant to me. That was so powerful to me.
Well, thank you for that. Has there been like a most memorable quote that you've put in like one of your books? I mean, I have one of my favorites. Like, you don't hang up your crazy at the door. You take it with you was one of my favorites.
That is one of my absolute favorites. The other one that I use all the time in my presentations is never trust a dog to watch your sandwich.
Oh, yeah. I think I do remember that one.
Yeah. And that really, and I just spoke about it because I just had a keynote earlier today. I'm heading into another keynote in about an hour. And yeah.
That's impressive.
And
that's a lot of talking.
two different states, mind you. So,
wow.
Anyway, yeah. So I'm sitting in my car as we speak right now. So I talked about that, and that's really about having expectations that are in line with reality. Like you wouldn't let a dog watch your sandwich and expect to have it when you got back. So why do you trust people to do the things you think they should do versus the things that they actually are inclined and motivated to do? So understanding that dials down the drama big time in your life and the stress in your life when you start facing people with reasonable expectations versus your hopes and dreams for them. Like, oh, my dog will totally watch my sandwich and it'll be there when I get back. Nope, it's not going to be. So, yeah, that's my favorite quote.
And what advice would you give to someone who's looking to go into your career?
I would give them the ability to not ascribe too tightly to a plan. When I went into college, I thought I was going to be an investment banker because I could make tons of cash and live the high life, and wouldn't that be great? And then when I was in college, I was like, that's it's just not me. It doesn't describe who I am as a person. So I went more over to human resources. And then I got into human resources, and I was like, I like this, but it's not close enough to people. So then I went into therapy, and then I'm like, whoa, this is too close to people. I'm way up in their stuff. So then I pulled back a bit and started doing coaching and motivational speaking and the writing and the consulting and all of those things. And you know what? I'm happy. And as I used to say, I used to teach CCD, religious ed, to little kids. And they would ask me, they're like, Miss Bridget, can you tell us what heaven's like? And I'm like, well, there's a lot of chocolate. I know that. And for me, there's wine. But they were like, well, how can we get in? And I said, you know what? At the end of the day, like when you get to that moment, I think you're going to get asked 3 questions. Did you have fun? Did you use the gifts that I gave you? And did you try to leave every situation better than you found it? So career advice is about have fun, use your gifts, and leave every situation better than you found it. And then, my friends, you will have lived a life of meaning and impact, and that's what matters.
That's nice. That's so nice. That's like such a good message too for everyone to take away. And those kids sound much more engaged than the 16-year-olds that I used to teach.
Right? Oh my God, they were so cute. I used to let them have dance parties, at the end if they paid attention to listening about Jesus and the 10 Commandments and all that fun stuff.
That's so cute. I love working with little kids.
It was great. It was really, really great. Having their parents come back to me and say, so what were you telling Johnny about having chocolate in heaven? We got past that because they were totally like, any heaven would have chocolate.
Absolutely.
Well, Bridget, thank you so much for calling in today and being on our show and giving us, a bit of background about you and your books. And it's been so helpful. And thank you. I'm so glad that I've met you and had you in my life.
Me too.
It's beyond exciting. I'm excited to go and, get the new book.
Thank you.
Exactly. And you can get that on Amazon, correct? All 4 of your books are on Amazon?
Exactly. So if you go to amazon.com/author,
okay.
/Dr. like Dr. Bridget Cooper, BRIDGET Cooper, COOPER. So Dr. Bridget Cooper, you will go right to my author page and you'll see all my books, please don't buy my dissertation for $115. It's really a waste. You can get that on like Doc Store, but for some reason they have that in there. But yeah, my 4 books are in there, and they're all available on Kindle as well. And if they're looking for iTunes, I'm actually on the iTunes bookstore as well. So if you want to grab it on iTunes, you can do that too.
Well, I had no idea that you were on iTunes, but that's super cool.
I'm freshly on iTunes, yeah, and I'm also going to have audiobooks coming up. I'm going to go into the recording studio once the sinus issue from the allergies in New England are over.
Oh, yeah.
I'll be in the recording studio and doing books on audio as well.
Well, that is awesome. And being dyslexic, thank you for doing that.
Absolutely no problem. My best friend is all about audiobooks. She's been mad at me for years that I haven't done it to this point. So I'm going to get on the bandwagon and make that happen.
Well, thank you. So for everybody who's listening, please go out and buy one of Bridget's books. They're so helpful. The teen edition, definitely for our age category, is super helpful. I use it every day. So thank you, Bridget, for so much for coming on.
Thank you so much, you guys. Take care.
Bye.
So when we come back, we are going to talk about news, Dancing with the Stars Week 3, and we are going to talk a little sports. So you ready with the music, Abby?
I am.